The Undertale battle animation community is a relatively niche but passionate community. It's filled with talented and creative individuals. Corey Animations, Dust Creator, Spamdor, you name it. Various animators have come and gone over the years, but new faces have come out of the woodwork to take their place, like in any community like this. But as great as this talented subsect of the fandom is, one thing I've noticed following many other creators in the space is the distinct neglect of Undertale's sister game, DELTARUNE. While DELTARUNE has received wonderful hand-drawn and 3D animated works over the many years of its existence, one area of animation that is less explored when it comes to DELTARUNE is battle animations. Putting it simply, a battle animation is utilizing an editing program such as Adobe Premiere Pro, KineMaster, CapCut, to create a video that mimics the look of gameplay of the game's battle system. This isn't limited to Toby Fox's games, but since I'm obviously an Undertale/Deltarune animator, this is my area. And as KineMaster is my software of choice for creating animations, I will be demonstrating step by step how to animate Deltarune's battle system using it. Not only because an old tutorial of mine on the subject was lackluster to say the least, yeah, bad. But also because I want to give other animators who have an interest in creating their own Deltarune projects the knowledge and resources necessary to succeed in their endeavors, whatever they might be. Hell, even I'm guilty of this. My Versus Chris animation that I released not too long ago was only my second Deltarune animation I've made on this channel. And with Chapter 5 right around the corner, now seemed like the perfect time to make a comprehensive guide on creating Deltarune battle animations. One last thing before we begin though. This is a quick table of contents of what I'll be going over today. Each section will be individually explained in depth when we get to them. Now, with everything hopefully clear, let's get into what you came here for. Aside from the obvious necessity of KineMaster itself, there are a few other programs I use in conjunction with KineMaster to assist with certain aspects of the animating process. The first of these is an app called Pixel Brush. It can be found on both Apple and Android devices. The purpose of Pixel Brush in the animating process is that it can be used to upscale the resolution of any sprite we use in our animation, eliminating the issue of sprites becoming blurry and pixelated when up close. For example, let's use Chris. Yes, you. Open up Pixel Brush and select the Create icon at the bottom of the screen. Choose the bottom option, Import, and then choose to pick from your device's gallery. You can import any image you like, but like I said, I'm using Chris. Once you find your preferred sprite, just tap on it to import it to the canvas. This program can also be used to edit sprites in pretty much any way you feel like. This comes in handy if, say, you want to add more expressions to a sprite than what's in the original sprite sheet. You can also use the eraser tool and eyedropper tools to remove the background around your sprite if you couldn't find a sprite or sprite sheet with a transparent background on its own. Side tangent over. Once you're ready to export your chosen sprite, tap on the set of ellipses in the top right corner, selecting Export to Gallery. And before you export, make sure that Enlarge Image is selected. Once you've confirmed that the settings are correct, all that's left to do is export. Once exported, Pixel Brush will save the given image to your device's gallery, where it can then be used in any project you make in KineMaster or otherwise. As I mentioned Blur earlier, here's a comparison between the raw sprite and what it looks like when upscaled. Big difference, huh? So, while it's definitely not required, I would highly recommend using Pixel Brush during the production of your projects. It is free after all. Now, moving on from Pixel Brush, another must-have in my opinion is having some sort of file conversion program at the ready. Pretty much any app or service will work for this, but it's necessary to convert any custom animations you make into GIFs, allowing them to loop seamlessly in your project. One thing to note is that base KineMaster does have an option to export a video as a GIF, but it compresses it to hell, so using an outside program to do the conversion is useful to retain your video's original quality. Okay, pretty much everything in this section has just been setting you up with some useful tools that we'll use to full effect later. Before we jump into the editing timeline, though, we'll need to do some shopping first. Metaphorically, I mean. Sprites. Every battle animation is filled with them. See, it wasn't really necessary to do this for an Undertale tutorial, because a lot of animators by this point have a back catalog of Undertale assets, such as buttons, fonts, character sprites, you know the drill. The same can't be said for Deltarune though. Like I said, many creators haven't touched it, and in many cases, people don't even know where to start when it comes to getting assets. And it makes sense. Deltarune's UI is much more complex than Undertale's. There's 3 party members to worry about. The UI moves a lot more than in Undertale. There are a lot of factors as to why finding everything can be a big ask for a lot of people. So I'm gonna help you out and tell you about some good places to get assets, starting with... Okay, so let's talk about it. The Spriters resource is a website meant for the archival and collection of video game assets, and like many popular games, Deltarune has its own section dedicated to all the art in the game. From top to bottom, categories are organized by character, both playable and non-playable, enemies, shopkeepers, backgrounds, objects, UI, cutscene assets, unused content, and artwork exclusive to the websites, like the Spamton sweepstakes and the newsletters. Clicking on any of these boxes will take you to the sprite or sprite sheet of the asset you're looking for. Above the sprite sheet is a variety of controls that can be used to manipulate the image. Selecting the magnifying glass allows you to zoom in without losing the quality of the sprite sheet. This is useful if you'd like to screenshot a specific sprite rather than grabbing the whole sprite sheet. The button on the far right will download the sprite sheet. Another good place to get assets from is the Deltarune Wiki. This is another way you can get your hands on individual sprites without the hassle of downloading an entire sprite sheet. This method is most useful for smaller sprites, like the icons used to represent the party members in battle. Now, with your assets hopefully collected, now we can get to the fun part. It's time to open up KineMaster. Open up a fresh project in KineMaster. Most animators I know animate in 16:9, but I'm in the minority of animators that animate using 4:3, which is the aspect ratio of both Undertale and Deltarune. The contents of this tutorial apply regardless of which aspect ratio you choose. I just wanted to point out why my project might look a little different than yours if you animate in 16:9. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'll just be creating a basic battle to use as a blueprint for how to set up your own project. First things first, you'll want to add your background, but before we do anything, it's important to determine what your background will be depending on what type of battle you're making. See, in Deltarune, when up against a regular enemy or mini-boss, the background is that classic blue box pattern you're bound to have seen if you've seen any footage of Deltarune before. But when up against one of the main chapter bosses or against a secret boss, the background is an image of whatever location the fight takes place. If you want to use the typical background, it'll be included in the Google Drive folder I've linked in the description. This folder contains a collection of a bunch of free-to-use Deltarune assets for use in animations, with everything being organized in a variety of categories, so if you don't have the sprites needed to make a Deltarune animation at your fingertips, you do now! A further overview of the contents of this folder will be included at the end of the tutorial. Now, download away and go wild with what I gave you. Okay. No more stalling. For our uses today, I decided to use the current animation I'm working on to serve as a template for how to accurately recreate Deltarune's battle UI. That way I can make progress on my animation and give you guys advice at the same time. You can use any background you decide for your project's purposes, but it won't really affect the steps we go over. First, we need to set up the black space where our dialogue will be displayed. We'll go to Layer, Media, and select Image Assets at the top of the screen. From there, select the color black at the top left. You now have a small black square on your screen. Now, since your rectangle has been successfully imported to the timeline, you'll select it and scroll down until you see Transform. Click on it and scroll down to the option Scale. Swiping to the left or right allows you to increase or decrease the size of your image. Enlarge the square until it fills the entire screen. Now, return to where you found scale, and instead change the Y position of the image. I'd recommend somewhere around 620. Once your box is in the correct position, the next thing we need to add is the menus of our party members. Chris and Susie are the only ones fighting in this example, so in this case, we'll have 2 menus. One detail some people might miss when animating is the fact that the positioning of the menus on the screen changes depending on how many party members are present. The best example of this in-game is during the weird route in the fight with Spamton. Since Chris is the only character present, their menu is dead in center on the screen, instead of being on the left where theirs usually is. So, since there are 2 characters here, Chris and Susie's menus will be sharing the space in the middle of the screen. Grab the menu assets for your characters, and lower them down until the brown line is just under the rectangle we created. Once they're in place, select your rectangle, tap the ellipses, and choose Bring to Front. This will layer our rectangle in front of the menus like so. Next, lower whichever character who's currently not having their turn's menu to obscure the buttons, leaving just the nameplate and HP bar visible. Now, duplicate the first character's menu and crop the copy to just be the yellow button for whatever option selected. Since the battle just started, it'll be Fight. Once this is done, I think now's a good time to add the party's names and HP values, don't you think? It's really easy to add text in KineMaster. Just select Layer and then Text. Now, you'll be taken to your device's keyboard, allowing you to type in pretty much whatever you can think of. Type your character's name in all capital letters. Then, hit this check mark icon in the top right-hand corner to confirm what you typed. Now, with your text selected, select Font, and for the party member's name, I personally use the font Greater Determination, so I'm going to choose that. Scale down your name to 0.54 scale and position it next to the character's HP, leaving a small bit of space on the left for the party icon. Repeat this process with the other characters present. With our names in place, we'll move on to adding HP. Create another text box and choose the font Mercy Regular. The number of HP will obviously depend on what you want to do, but once you've typed it out, change the scale to 0.38 and place the text directly above the HP bar as seen here. Do this again for your other characters. There's one more thing we need to add with text. Using the same font we use for our HP, type the name of the action being selected, i.e. Fight, in all capital letters, changing the color of the text to yellow. Then, scale the text down to 0.25 before placing it under the selected button. Here's what everything should look like so far. Now, we'll add the icons of our party members to the empty space here. Fetch your character's battle icons, and scale them both down to 0.02, which is the second smallest option in the scale menu. Then, place them in the empty space we reserved earlier. Once all the necessary icons are in place, we'll add another black rectangle to the timeline. This second rectangle will be used to make the space behind our menus more bold. Position the second rectangle behind where the buttons are located, making it just overlap with the off character's menu. Then, lower the opacity to be somewhere in the low 40s range, such as 42. Now, bring the first rectangle to the frontmost layer and relayer everything to be in the correct order. I'll speed this up for you guys because it takes me a while to do it in the footage I got. Next, we'll draw the small moving lines that appear on either side of the buttons. To achieve this, we'll use the handwriting tool situated in the Layers menu. Click the pencil icon on the left, and then choose to draw a square without a fill. Next, select this red circle and then select the eyedropper icon in the corner. Then, simply tap on the cyan blue color of our menu, letting us nab the exact color to draw our lines in. Now, drag your finger straight down to create a line in the color we eyedropped. This may take some trial and error, so be patient, and you'll eventually get the length you want. Now, move our newly drawn line over to the corner of the menu, making it so that it blends in with the edge of it. Once you've done this, duplicate the line and move the copy over to the opposite side of the menu box. Finally, with the handwriting tool selected and moving the playhead to the end of the layer, tap on this diamond-shaped icon to create a keyframe. move the line to be just shy of touching the first button on its respective side. Repeat this process with your other line layer. The last thing we need to do is select the out animation of both lines to be fade. With this done, you can duplicate both lines and move them forward so that the line animation repeats until the character's turn is over. Now, the battle section of our UI is officially finished. I honestly congratulate you if you've made it this far. I know all of this can seem a little complicated. Take a breather real quick if you need to. Okay, let's add the TP bar. Import the TP bar asset to the timeline like we've done for everything else. Shrink it down to 0.65 scale, move it to the left edge of the screen, leaving space for our text. Duplicate the image and crop out the TP text included with the sprite sheet. Create a text box, choose the font Determination, and type 0% in a vertical fashion like this. Okay, I made record time on that one. For the sake of convenience, here's a cheat sheet for Deltarune's Battle UI for you all to use as reference material. You can pause and look at it if you want, but the image will also be included in the asset pack if you want to download it and get a closer look. Alright, we're done. We've been in this section way too long, so let's move on. What you see in front of you is my setup for animating the attacks for my various animations. I'm showing you this so that you can replicate a project like this for your own uses. The basic way this works is on all four corners, blue squares, or whatever solid color you choose to make your background, are placed just beneath our four green lines, making up the sides of our box. Like shown earlier, these lines were made using the handwriting tool. The blue squares are to obscure whatever projectiles we add when they are outside of the boundaries of the battle box. The box's corners are layered above the squares. A singular black rectangle is also layered behind our squares and box. Using the same method of using keyframes as seen in section 3, we can make it so that the box changes shape as seen in my footage. Before we end off this section, it's my recommendation that once you set this all up, you make a copy of the project to use as a template for your future animations, rather than having to set everything up all over again. For example, I have a UT attack template for the white box and a DR attack template for the green box. It'll save you a lot of time in the long run. Now, alright, so this last section is just completely unscripted. I'm just gonna be talking to you guys, because I didn't really feel like this part needed to be super choreographed or anything. Pretty much I'm just gonna be talking about some of the stuff that's in the asset pack that I've mentioned throughout this video. It's linked in the description. I'll probably also have a pinned comment that has it too if you don't want to go look in the description. Pretty much just going to be going over everything that's in there and just kind of talking from the heart, I guess. So there is multiple different categories. Everything's organized in their own folders. The categories are backgrounds, battle portraits, there's character walk cycles, there is characters' dialogue portraits, you know, for when they talk, fonts, you know, all the different fonts that I use, the TTF files are in there. So there's just a lot of different fonts. All the ones that I use I saved to there, so it's really easy to access. And then UI elements, this is where you'll find the like sprites for the TP bar, the different I don't think I mentioned it, but there's the different like chapter select icons from when you boot up the game and you have the different chapters. There's the normal variants, and then there's the selected variants where they're turned yellow. The different like text effects, like you know, petrified, swoon, that type of stuff. There's the different player actions, like if a character is sparing or defending. There's the different battle menus for all the different characters. So that's what's in the UI elements. As for character walk cycles, the characters that are currently in there are Carol, Chris, Noelle, Rousey, and Susie. They're all in their own separate folders. And keep in mind, I'm updating this as I go. Like, as I get more assets for my own projects, I will be adding them to it. So this will be updated over time. When there's a big enough sort of update, I might make like a community post, like saying everything I added. But like, obviously I'm not going to make a post like every time I add like one little thing. So some characters have both their dark and light world walk cycles, some just have dark world, some just have light world. It's a work in progress, but I might as well just have it open to you now, you know, in case there's assets that you might need that I have in there. I also have the sprite sheets included, if you want to, like, you know, use them for like thumbnails, so you don't have to import the walk cycle, because KineMaster lags a lot if you import like a video. So just raw sprite sheets are in there for the walk cycles, if you want to use it for, like I said, thumbnails or anything else. And then, you know, battle portraits, you know, dialogue portraits. Obviously, it's all the same characters that have walk cycles, minus Chris, of course, because they don't have any battle portraits or dialogue portraits yet in the game. So yeah, that's pretty much an overview of everything that's in the asset pack. Like I said, it'll be linked in the description, and it'll be linked in a pinned comment most likely. Like I mentioned, the cheat sheet for the UI is in there, just so you can have it in high quality rather than having to, you know, pause and like take a screenshot of the video for it. It has the exact like position and like scale value if you want to like get a one-to-one recreation of kind of what I did. So yeah, if you have any questions, comment. Like, I'm pretty good with responding to comments quickly. So, you know, if you have any questions, just ask and I'll get to them. So, yeah, happy Deltarune!